Don't let the clay bully you. What's up everybody, this is Torres here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to center for beginners, because centering is the most important part of the clay process. And I want to show you how to not let the clay bully you and you stick up for yourself. So now let's get into the steps. The first step that you need to be taking when you're centering or making any pottery is that you need to wedge your clay really well. This will get out the air bubbles for you so that it makes everything nice and easy when you're starting to make stuff. The second step that you need to be taking when you're starting to center is that you need to put your clay into a ball, and you do that just by slapping it around until you get a sphere shape. The third step that you need to be taking is that you need to get the clay as close to center as possible, and you do that by slamming it as close to the center as possible, and then you do what I like to call slap centering, which is basically all you're doing is slapping the clay until you have it close to center while having the wheel moving very slowly. Now you're probably wondering why I'm having you do all these little steps before you actually start centering. Well, that's because I want to make it as easy for you as possible so that you won't be struggling later on. So now that you have the clay really close to center, the next step that you need to be taking is you need to learn how to brace your elbows against your body and use your body, not just your arms. You can see here that I am bracing my elbow into my leg, and that is helping me stabilize my body and my arms so that the clay doesn't control me, I control it. Now that you got your elbow placed into your hip and you are more comfortable with using your body and not just your arms, the next step is we have to start using our hands more and position our hands a certain way. So the way I like to think about it is I position my hands kind of like how a football player catches a football. So if you ever played football or seen somebody catch a football, it's usually like a diamond shape that they do it. But before that, I like to place my left hand first, and then I wrap my right hand on the outside, and I'm kind of curling my hands together. So that way the clay is pushing inward, and you're using your thumbs and you're kind of like your heel of your palm to focus in on the top to get centered. So now you keep on doing the last two steps that I showed you throughout until you get it completely centered. And you can tell when it's centered. You can either close your eyes and feel it, or you can grab like a little needle tool and drag it across the clay, and if you don't see any wobbles in the line that you made, then you know it's centered. So now the last step that I want to show you is that I want to show you how to open up your clay. So when I'm opening up my clay, I usually like to start with like the heel of my thumb, and I press and I make a little bit of an indent before I start drilling in. And then after that, I'll use my two thumbs, because this gives you the best stability when you're doing it. And I use my two thumbs doing it like this because you're going to get the right shape that you want while you're opening it. When you're opening up your clay, you kind of want a 90-degree angle, but a little bit past it, so that when you start pulling up your clay, it's going to make it a lot easier. So now I'm going to show you what a good opening looks like. So I cut my centering or my opening in half, and I open it to see what I do right and what I do wrong. So normally a good opening has a pretty thin bottom. It's about 1/4 inch thick, and you can see it's really flat at the bottom where I'm pointing at. And you also want a little indent right there where my finger's at, because it's going to help you with your pulling a lot.